Another day, another disgrace, I guess. INEOS transfer joke. I mean, is this are we being punked? Are we being fooled? Are we being clowned? I don't know what's going on with this football club. Well, I do know what's going on with this football club. We got incompetent people running it, and just when you think that they might be, reading the room and trying to maybe turn things around and maybe actually prove that they might actually be competent and not incompetent, we get transfer stories and transfer news about the club potentially going to loan in Ruben Loftus Cheek and Wilfred Ndidi as sort of the January midfield options on a loan for Manchester United, to help us get Champions League football. Like, that's really going to help us. So we've got some other transfer news as well that's slightly more encouraging, but it's not for the January transfer window, so it's not going to help us in the immediate. And we got some other updates as well surrounding Manchester United, a meeting that's going to be held between Pavel, Wilcox, and the rest of them. So we're going to get into all the latest Manchester United news. Hope everybody is doing well. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. My name is Eric. Please smash the like button. It's greatly important to the channel. Get that done, people. If you want to support us, if you want to help us, that's the best way to do it. Smash that like button. Also share the video, the channel with your friends, with your family. Make sure you subscribe, and if you enjoy the content, and if you do subscribe, hit the notification bell icon so you get notified when we go live and you don't miss a show. Because usually we're live at 8:15 p.m. UK, but sometimes, like today, we got to change up the time a little bit. So we are going to get into this, and I'm probably going to rant because I think this is absolutely disgraceful. I think it's disgusting that we are here again. To me, this is like United Keys has said, literally a Gallo and Weghorst level signings these clowns are looking to do. And it is. It is. I mean, Ruben Loftus Cheek and Wilfred Ndidi are washed former Premier League players. They're not playing in the Premier League. Loftus Cheek hasn't had a good time in Italy at AC Milan, and you think he's going to come back to the Premier League and he's going to make an impact for us? Wilfred Ndidi is playing at Besiktas. He's past it. But these are the deals, these are the transfers we're looking to do. These are the things that the club are looking to do, and I think it's a disgrace. It's literally Glazes 2.0. It's literally, we're not going to spend any real money. We don't want to spend any money in the first quarter. We should be fine with what we have, while everybody else that's a competent, proper run football club is actually looking to strengthen properly. Villa looking to go and get Jean-Philippe Mateta from Crystal Palace right now. Manchester City has already signed 2 big players, and the other clubs are, circulating or have made some sort of signing that is potentially going to give them a push to the end of the season. So I'll give you the update, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more, because I think it's disgusting. So Alex Crook has come out, and he said a couple things. He said that on Manchester United making January signings, he said, I have got the name of a couple potential targets that I'm just working on double sourcing. I think if they bring anybody in, it will be a midfielder. And also said probably more likely to be a loan deal. He then followed that up by saying Manchester United are considering signing a midfielder on the loan to bolster their hopes of Champions League qualification. United have been offered the chance to sign AC Milan's Ruben Loftus Cheek. Talks are only exploratory at this stage, but the player is keen on a Premier League return. United have also discussed Besiktas midfielder Wilfred Ndidi. And this is just, it's a joke. It's a joke. This is what I was saying, what they were going to do, okay? We are in the back end of January. There's not a lot of time left. There's about 2 weeks left, yeah? If there is any of that. There's less than 2 weeks, okay? They've wasted the first part of the 2 weeks of January, okay? Now we're on the back end. We have less than 2 weeks, and it's literally the same situation where we signed Gallo. It's literally the same situation where we got Weghorst. It's the same thing. It's not looking good. It's looking bleak. It looks like we're not going to get anybody. Feed the people that they're going to get nothing, and then we'll give them a little bit of breadcrumbs, and they'll be happy like it's a full meal. And this is what they're trying to do. And, I will say that at the very least, the fans, the Manchester United fans, the majority of them at least are awake. At least are not, happy with the crumbs. Okay, people are calling this out. There's some weirdos that are like, well, it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. It's not better than nothing. Okay, you might as well do nothing because it is equivalent to doing nothing. They are not the level that we need. This is not a serious thing to be doing as a football club that wants to get Champions League and wants to compete with the rest of the league. Okay. And again, Michael Carrick, he did very good in his first game against Manchester City in the derby. And, it was some scintillating stuff, but I would still like it. I would still be in favor if you bolstered our odds in a real way. This isn't a real way. This is a fake way. This is a facade way of trying to do things. Okay? And Ndidi is way past it. And Loftus Cheek is not good enough. Okay, and we went from Conor Gallagher and João Gomez to now Loftus Cheek and Wilfred Ndidi. I think it is an absolute disgusting disgrace. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke that they are trying to do this. And I don't know. I just sit here and I look at it and I think, it just gives me deja vu. Like, I feel like I'm back in the same place that we were 2, 3, 4 seasons ago, where I'm sitting there and I'm just looking at it looks like we're going to do nothing. We're all desperate because we're like, yeah, we need something. And the club is like sitting on their ass, not trying to do anything because they don't want to spend money in the first quarter. They want to operate it like a business. And it's a clown show. It's an absolute clown show. These people running this football club the way that they are running the football club. And, I've tried to give these guys, I've tried to give INEOS every bit. I've tried to give INEOS every bit of, benefit of the doubt, right? I've tried to give them leeway. But the more that they keep making decisions, the more that they keep operating, it's like we don't even have, it's like INEOS isn't even here. It's like the Glazes and Ed Woodward or Richard Arnold is still running the football club because they're doing the same thing. This is the same exact playbook. It's not even slightly different. It's not even like tweaked or anything. It's literally Glazer playbook has been handed to INEOS, to Wilcox and Barada and Sir Jim, and they are literally reading from it. And they're doing the same thing over and over again. And it's absolutely ridiculous. It's ridiculous that they are doing this thing. And I give credit again to the wider range of the fan base because people are not buying this. People are not biting this. They are not taking this. Nobody thinks that this is actually good enough. Nobody is actually happy with this sort of thing for the most part. And it is just an absolute joke. Lyle is here, says, hey, Eric and all your words. What's up, buddy? How you doing? Lucky says Glaze is out. We hope guys done training methods today. Cunha, Heaven. Well, listen, that's besides the point. The point is that these guys, it's been obvious since Ruben got into the fight with them that they couldn't get Semenyo, so they decided that they're going to do nothing in this transfer window. Nothing of significance, nothing that's going to help us in a good way. Nothing that shows some sort of, strong statement to do. And it's just the same play over again. And I know I sound like I'm kind of surprised. And I know I kind of sound like, I was maybe expecting somewhere else. But it just, it really pisses me off that they are the way they are. Because there was an opportunity that, there's new people here. The Glazers are there, sure. But maybe, just maybe these people... Maybe, just maybe, you just be a little bit more competent, a little bit less glazerish, and maybe we could actually go somewhere. And it was like, no, this has been like the people that have been calling it out from day one. They are just a shield. They are just an extension of the Glazers. They are just, a fake show to prop up in front of everybody. They are absolutely clowns. They're clowns. And they keep having these opportunities, and for me it's like it's unfathomable how you can keep dropping the ball and not reading the room. Okay? You know people are on your ass after the thing with Ruben and the Ruben fiasco and hiring him and the whole thing. You know people are pissed off, okay? I think that this has come out because I think they're looking at it and they're like, well, people are really happy now that Carrick's here and that we just beat Manchester City, so we could put something out like this that, you know, the temperature has toned down. And this is what happens if you're a bit complacent, that the temperature shouldn't tone down on these people, because this is what happens. Then they try to and come in and sneak some things in and get away with some stuff that if the temperature stayed hot, they wouldn't be able to get away with it, right? So Lyle says, yeah, INEOS not looking good. The benefit of the doubt was given, but you are absolutely right. It feels more of the same rather than a new era. And that's the sad part about it. That's really the sad part about it, because I'm all for giving people opportunities, even if I don't necessarily like the situation. And I've tried and I've been trying, and I'm still kind of trying, because I'm like, you know what? It's all dictated by actions, and, you know, we're not going to get everything right. They're not going to get everything right. Maybe they're right about some things. Maybe we're wrong about some things. But I've been saying this for over a month now, that these guys, if you don't do anything in January, it is a disgrace to this football club. The size of this football club, the magnitude of this football club, what this football club is supposed to be. We're supposed to be a big football club. We're not acting like one. Big football clubs don't do the things we're doing, okay? You know, trying to sign Ndidi and Loftus Cheek on a loan is some shit that Wolves would be trying to do, because they're going to get relegated, or somebody down that's in like 16th place or something like that, you know, that are scraping at the bottom of the barrel, that they don't have money, that it's looking quite grim, and they need to do anything they can to try and get a couple players in so that maybe they can survive the rest of the season. We are not that. We are in a position where we are trying to go and get Champions League football, and they keep reiterating to us how important Champions League football is. And they don't even need to reiterate it. We all know how important it is. Money-wise, stature-wise, transfer-wise, you know, the whole thing, even to the project. And then it's like, you know, it's a bunch of bullshit that they tell you all these things, but it's like, where are the actions? Where is... You know, because your words are cheap. Your words are cheap. They are. Words are always cheap. They've always been cheap. Where are the actions? Where is the showing that you are serious about this? Where is not even just for us, not even just for the fans, where is the showing of the actions that you are going to show the world? That Manchester United is actually a serious football club, that we actually have a serious project, and we're actually seriously trying to build something. Because I know probably players don't take this into account, or managers, and they should. I think specifically managers as well. You know, if I'm a manager and I'm somewhere else, if I'm Poch, if I'm Ancelotti, if I'm whatever, and I'm sitting there and I'm in the job I'm in now, and I'm looking at United's situation, and I'm seeing that they're not really trying to do business in January because for whatever reason they want to say, I'm sitting there thinking twice about going to that football club. That's not going to give me confidence that when I take the job, they're going to operate properly and back me for me to do the job that I need to do, that ultimately everything is going to fall on my head and succeed. So, you know, these guys going around parading that, you know, oh, it's all for the summer, kicking the can down the road like we've done before. You know, I right now, I swear, I feel like I am in the transfer window. I can't remember the year. I feel like I am in the transfer window where we literally bring in Igalo. And I remember that transfer window like it was yesterday, because I was sitting there and we didn't have this show and we didn't have this community, but I was sitting there and I was furious every day because I was like, we are on our fucking knees and we need help. And the club was like, here's your help. And everybody knew it was shit. And everybody tried to be polite about it, and everybody tried to give the guy a benefit of the doubt, and it's nothing really against Gallo personally. So everybody tried to get back him and support him and hope it went well, but it went shit. It went shit because everybody knew it was going to be shit because, let's just be real, there's levels to this thing, okay? There's levels to this thing, and he wasn't the level. And these guys aren't the level either. They are not the level. I mean, one of them, I think it's Loftus Cheek or Ndidi, they have a terrible injury record. Horrible injury record. Horrible. Even if it's a loan, you're going to bring somebody in with that level of an injury record. You know. Eric, stop saying we a massive club. We okay club average with fan base. No. I disagree. We are. Listen, being a massive club doesn't mean that you are the best club. Okay, we are a massive club. We are a worldwide massive club. We are talked about. We are huge. We have accomplished huge things. Okay. Doesn't mean that we're in the best in the world right now. So don't get it confused. Don't get it twisted. Those two things don't mean the same thing. But we are a massive club. We are not a little club. We are not a club that is. We are not a club that is supposed to be mid-table. We are not constantly mid-table. We do not have a history of being mid-table or below. We are traditionally and have always been for a long time a top club. We are still considered a top club. We have more money than most, even though that we are in a financial restraint. Okay? So we are a big club. We are a big name. And we need to act like one. And the problem is that these people want to try and not act like one because they've been trying to lower the standards. They've been trying to lower what's acceptable at this football club. And listen, some things you have to be realistic about, and some things you just listen. There is no reason why the size of the club of Manchester United should be trying to do the deals that they're trying to present to us. Okay? There's no reason for it. Lower the spending. Yeah, they're trying to lower the spending. They're trying to save the money. Thank you, Renoso. And that's what I'm saying. And this is what I've been saying. Listen, don't let them fool you. And this is why I keep bringing in the aspect of the transfer, the wage budget, okay? The wages, okay? Once upon a time, our fan base lost their shit because we had the most expensive wages out of every football club in the Premier League, and we were still shit, okay? And they have taken the wages of this football club and put them in sixth. And there is a direct correlation to spending money and winning and competing. And they have taken it to sixth, and they're looking to take it lower. And if you do the mathematics, if you look at the average of spending and you look at the clubs of what they spend based on players, based on wages, okay? Mid-table clubs have a mid-table spending on wages, and they finish mid-table. All right? So these people, they want to lower this, and then everybody, the rest of us are going to expect us to still be a top team. You cannot be a top team when you are spending like a mid-table club. All right? And they can spend money. There was 65 million there for Semenyo. It was there. They were going to do the deal. So there's no nonsense of there's no money or anything like this. And this is the other game we have to play, yeah? Because we don't ever actually know. You know, they can come out and say, well, we don't have money. All right, well, to be logical, if you don't have money, it's hard to do deals. But how can you trust these people? How can you trust Glazers and Glazers Jr.? How can you do that? It's always been about lowering the spending. Average football club. Listen, we are the way we are. Yes, we are average football club, but we are in name and stature to a certain degree. We are a massive football club. We are big. We are worldwide. We are not Bournemouth. Bournemouth is an average football club. They only have so many fans. They only have a certain size stadium. They only get so many people that watch them. We are international. We are worldwide. We are the most talked about football club. We are the most scrutinized and criticized football club. So in that level, we are a massive football club, and we should be continuing to act like one. And the owners of this football club want to take that away. They want to normalize a level of mediocrity so that they can, like Reynoso was saying, spend less and lower the spending. Because I think, and people have stated this before, and it's a bit of a conspiracy. All right? It's a bit of a conspiracy, but I think it's a conspiracy that has, it has some realness to it. It looks like to me that they are trying to clean up the club in terms of financially for whatever reason. I don't know if they're they're looking to sell it, which is what you would normally do if you're trying to sell a business or sell something. You clean it up a little bit financially. You redo some of the things. You make it look a little bit nicer. You make it look a little bit attractive. On the books, it looks a little bit cleaner. It's a little bit more straightforward. It's better to then do business and sell. And I don't know if that's what they're doing, but it seems like that might be a possibility of what they're doing, because the cutting of the wages, the lowering of the spending, they're trying to balance the books. INEOS has been penny pinching all over the place, okay? And in the meantime, they're trying to tell us, well, it's so that we're self-sustainable. Okay, but what is the real agenda? Because I don't trust you people to get us self-sustained and then reinvest it into the actual team. Have a self-sustained so that you can prop it up and sell it as something that's actually looks really good on the books. That's what I think is happening. So I think the whole thing is a facade, and I think these guys are jokers. Reynoso says, bro, the lack of care and overall spending transcends to all departments. As Old Trafford is falling down, the gym still had old equipment when Ronaldo came back. Our random big transfer windows are the equivalent to going out on the town from time to time, but check engine light is on and your roof is leaking. And yeah, I mean, I laugh, but it's sad, but it is true. Like, I laugh because it's true. It is the same. It's like, it's like going out on a big night. Meanwhile, your roof at your house has holes in it and it's leaking and your car is falling apart, but you're going to go out to the club and spend, $500 on a night out to have a good time. And it's like, well, what are we doing? But, I mean, listen, these guys, it's just, it's just a total joke, man. It's just a total joke. And we have to stay on top of it. I mean, listen, to the very least, the 58 are going to continue with their protest as they should, regardless of, some people sort of laying off now because they're happy that United won. After one match, and you can see sort of the battle and the problem that we have in this fan base is that there's a lot of sort of, it's a bit of a fake anger, I would call it, because when the club is shit and things are a mess, everybody is riled up and pissed. If you get a couple good results or you get a shiny new toy from the transfer window, we lose about 25 to 50% of those people. And they don't stay. They just kind of go away. They don't continue to say Glazers out or INEOS out. They don't continue to talk about these other things. They just go back to sort of some normalcy of, I'm just going to sit and watch my team and enjoy the football and not give a shit about anything else. And that's a problem. It's a problem. So it's a problem that happens. So it's good that, listen, the 58, they have a tough battle and they have to navigate these things, because a week ago, they probably had massive support all over the place. After the result against City, they probably lost at least 25%. But, those guys always come with strong numbers. So it's good that they're going to continue the protest. They need to do that. They need to show that it doesn't matter whether we win or lose or whatever it is or whatever the feeling is. Go protest. Go continue forward with the idea, because this is the problem that we have here at this football club, is that, we get a couple good results and people think all the problems are fixed, and it's like, no, the people that created the initial problems and the reason why this football club is where it is, they're still here, and they're still going to make decisions, and they're still going to make bad decisions that are going to fuck the football club and ultimately fuck the manager, whoever comes in. So our message clear: ownership, support management teams, sell less players, revest Premier League, La Liga players. Yeah, but these guys, listen, they're not doing that. They're not doing that, Lucky. That's the thing. Like, everybody knows what we got to do, but they're not doing it, and they haven't been doing it. And I don't trust them. I don't trust them to do it. I don't trust them to do it. Lyle says, what is really crap here is Glazers basically gave the keys to the land to INEOS with the football operations, and INEOS are fumbling the bag. They have the most important aspect of the club. I feel like, Lyle, I honestly feel like that whatever is in that deal that they did, that they have played a blinder here into trying to trick people in that, like, the Glazers don't have a say in the football operations. And I don't think it's true. I don't think it's true. I think that the Glazers are still involved in this. I still think that they have some type of power over INEOS. And this is why we're seeing very Glazerish things coming from INEOS. Because it's not really different. I mean, listen, they've gone about it in a different way. Player profile, they've cleaned up a couple things. But the club in general, in the overall picture, is still operating very Glazerish. It's not like it's gone in a totally different direction, And in fact, the penny pinching that they're doing, it benefits the Glazers. They own the football club, and it's probably something that they are happy that is happening, And INEOS, you do a deal like they did, and it's like, you could very easily well say, and listen, this is sort of another conspiracy, because there's nothing that I can tangibly pull up to show you that this is 100%, but they do the deal that they did, and it's like, okay, we cut you in on our business, yeah? We don't have to cut you in. We could cut anybody else we want, and we cut you in. You stand to make the X amount of money, but in return, you have to be the front man for us. You have to be the shield. You have to be, the piñata for us. You take all the hits now, okay? We're going to release to the press that you guys are in charge of the football operations. We're not going to, we're just going to hang out in America. We own the club, but we're not going to have any say over what you do. To the press, people are going to think that it's all you, and now you're the punching bag. And this is part of the deal that we do. We're going to cut you in on our business. You're going to be able to make a certain amount of money, but you got to be the punching bag for us. In the meantime, behind the scenes and in reality, these guys still have their fingers everywhere. They're still their grubby little fingers, the Glazers touching everything. I don't think Sir Jim actually has a certain level of power that has been made out to be. I think that Sir Jim has to absolutely, basically, he's got to answer to Joel and Avram. And if he's answering to Joel and Avram, well, then he's literally just a puppet, isn't he? He's a puppet for the Glazers. And many people have been saying this for a long time, but we were led to believe that, no, they've sold a piece of it, and they're going to let them run the football operations, and it's separate. Glazers will do commercial and the rest of the club, and INEOS will run the football operations. But I can't believe that when I see things that are happening, that we've already lived through this. We've already went through these things. These things have already happened way too many times under the Glazers, time and time again, season after season. Glazers just put INEOS in the firing line and they are winning, and I think that's ultimately what's happening, and it's really shit. But the more that, and this is why I always said the proof will be in the pudding, because the truth always comes out, and the more that they continue to be here, the more that they continue to make certain decisions, or set the way the club is sort of operating, or what's happening at the football club. To me, it just feels like we don't have sort of these new people. It just feels like I'm reliving Richard Arnold or Ed Woodward all over again. So, Lucky says, Eric, do you think Glazers told INEOS go buy less players? I think that the Glazers are basically, I think that they've done a deal with each other that they are trying to clean up the football club, not to benefit the football club, not to reinvest the football club, not to have the football club actually in a good financial standing so that we can actually go back to competing at the level financially, transfer-wise, in the way that we're supposed to. I think that they've done a deal with the Glazers. The Glazers have done a deal with INEOS, and that they are trying to clean the football club so that they can, for whatever it is, I don't know if they're trying to sell it, but I think ultimately that sticks in the back of my mind, is that they want, whatever the price is. It seems to change all the time, but 6 billion, 8 billion, 10 billion, whatever their actual ultimate goal of a price is, it seems like that's what they're trying to do. That's why they're still trying to lower the wage further, okay? And I'm warning people about this because there are people out there, and there's a direct correlation. That lowering of that wage, it's low enough. It shouldn't really go lower. And if it goes lower, I think we're going to have a big problem, and we're going to have a big issue trying to continue to compete season after season after season with the rest of the people that obviously their football clubs, they're putting money in, not taking money out. Like, there's always, we have this comparison. Look at the Manchester City owner. He's put in $1 billion while ours is taking $1 billion out. It's the same. It's still the same thing. Why hell not selling Ugarte or Luke Shaw or investment, go get James Garner would make so sense? Because they're incompetent, Lucky. That's what I'm saying. They're incompetent. It's fake. It's a facade. It's not real. They're not, the whole thing is not real. It's all bullshit. Okay? They're not in the business of actually trying to operate like a proper football club. They are still operating it like a business. So Jim is a businessman. The Glazers are business people. Okay? These guys, besides Omar and Wilcox and Vivell, the rest of them, these three guys, those three people, they're not football fans, really. They're not, and especially the Glazers, but they don't have a background in sports, do they? So they don't care about the sport. The sport has never been important to them. They don't care about winning. Really? And as I said last time, it's cheaper to build a team that can stay in 4th or 5th than it is to build a Premier League winning team and then sustain it. And I think everything that they're doing now is to just keep trying to buy themselves time because they want that stadium. They want that stadium. We got another story that came out here, right? And this is what I'm saying, when it's just, things come out and you just start feeling like it's all for money. It's always been about money, and it's always going to continue about money. Samuel Luckhurst came out with a thing that said Manchester United are considering an IMAX-style digital season ticket that would allow fans to stream games from a certain section of Old Trafford. United are well placed for the proposed venture due to technology sponsorships. And listen, on paper, yeah, it sounds cool. Like, for me, it sounds cool. You're telling me that I can watch United from, like, sitting in a seat like I'm at Old Trafford and I'm all the way in America. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, but then the flip side of my brain goes, well, that's just a fucking money-grabbing scheme. You know what I mean? That's just, you didn't get your Super League. You couldn't throw Manchester United all around, the world to go play a Premier League match. So now what you're doing is you're going to create some sort of system where you're going to get, it's not enough to have the season tickets from the people in the stadium. Now you're trying to get season tickets from international fans, where you are paying a premium. You pay for the full year. It's cash, money in the hand, money in the bank. Okay? And then the fan gets to watch matches like they're sitting at Old Trafford. It's just another money scheme that they're doing. It's just to get more money in. And the problem with that is it wouldn't necessarily be bad if we had people that we can trust that they're going to take a certain amount of that money and reinvest it into the squad. But these people don't do that, do they? They take the money, they put it in their pocket. They take the money, they don't use it for helping out Old Trafford or like Reynoso said, putting in, new gym equipment or stuff like that. What did we do? We changed the tunnel a little bit. We painted it and made it look nice. It's not anything major. It's not anything serious. It's all half-ass. It's all the same. Whether you look at the transfers or you look at anything else, it's all like let's starve the people. Let's starve them as much as possible so that we lower their expectations, we lower their demands. And then when we give them a half-assed thing that they normally wouldn't accept, most people will be like, well, it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. And it's like, no, you are falling into the play that they are giving you. They can give you so much more. They can do so much more. They are tricking you into thinking that this is the best that we got. This is the best that we can do. And then they want you to be happy with it. You know what I mean? Bruno also says, yeah, dog, bingo. Lyle says, on paper, that is a lucrative deal, and it's following the NBA, NFL, and WWE. Commercial-wise, this club is on point. And that's the thing that also then pisses me off, because commercially, they are actually really fucking good. Right? Commercially, they are absolutely brilliant. But it's almost like, and sometimes I feel like it's just like they do, it's almost like they do it on purpose. It's almost like every opportunity they get, they show how brilliantly they could actually do business and actually do things. And then it's like, we just care about the football. We just want our team to win Premier Leagues and compete and be serious. And it's like every opportunity that they get, because they don't care about the sport, because they don't care actually about lifting trophies and stuff like that, they give us the middle finger at every opportunity they give us. And then on the flip side, they're like, yeah, but look how brilliant we are at doing commercial. Look at how brilliant we are at expanding your brand, of the football club. Look at how genius we are at making money off of your name. And also then give you a nice big fat middle finger and be like, you'll never see a trophy again. You'll never see a Premier League trophy again because we don't give a fuck. Deal with it. Now, Arsenal have taken the lead, by the way. I know we are live during the Champions League. I wasn't even going to do a show, but I felt bad because I told you guys that I was going to go live at 8:15, and then I totally forgot there was Champions League. So that's why I went live a little bit earlier, so that at least we started the show, not at the 15 minutes into the match. But Lyle says, and they don't realize if United is brilliant on the pitch, that means 10 times more money commercially, the brains of these people, man. But the thing is, I don't people say that all the time, and I used to say that too, Lyle, but I'm starting to think the opposite, because I think they have, accountants, money men, and stuff like that, and I think they've done the math on this. And because you're right, like on paper, that would make sense, right? And everybody has always said this. It's like, these people love money so much, and if you are actually successful, you would be able to make so much more money from the brands and all this stuff. But I just think that they've looked at that and they've said, actually, I don't think it actually profits them. I don't. I think if it actually profited them, like to the degree that they would make way more money, I think they would go ahead and do it. The fact that they seem to take every opportunity to not go and do that and do the opposite of it and go down a different path, I think if you actually crunch the numbers and we had full access to all of United's actual financials, which we don't, only they do, I think if you ran the numbers and you did sort of an estimate, I think to do what you just explained, Lyle, I think to be brilliant on the pitch and, basically what City have done over the last 10 years and win these Premier Leagues and keep the team going and keep the team at the top, I think it actually cuts into their profit. And I don't think that I think they look at it and they're like, if we minimize the spending on the transfers and we just maximize the commercialism that we already have because it's already a big brand and it's global, I think it actually profits them more to do that. I know, like, common sense wise and on paper, it doesn't really sound like that, but for me, it just feels like I think there's somewhere they've done the math on this, and that's why they continue to sort of just ignore the football side, that they don't want to do the football side properly because it doesn't actually give them a certain level of profit off of the profit that they're making now. Again, you have to remember, while all of this is going on, the value of the club is still going up. So they are still making money, and they are making, and I guess they're happy with whatever they're making because I guess they're happy with whatever the growth is. Because if they weren't, they would look to spend more money to make a better team so that we can be Premier League champions and Champions League champions. And then they can go and, like you said, sign a 10x brand deal for way more money. It's a bit all over the place. I mean, if you look at some of the deals of the brand deals that we have, we've lost some deals, we've lost some money. Other clubs that are successful are getting sort of bigger deals from like Adidas or Nike or something like that. But I don't, I believe that these people are all about money. And I think if it wasn't balancing itself out somewhere, they would obviously then go in the other direction to go and get those brand deals. And how you get those brand deals, you gotta win the Premier League, you gotta win the Champions League, you gotta go back to the top and compete and be strong. But they don't seem like they are interested in that. And that leads me to believe that whatever their calculations are, whatever path they're looking at to take, they're like, no, we're on our path. We're set to make the money. The money is coming in. The money is rolling in. The value of the club is going up. We're doing exactly what we want. We're right on the money. Simon is here, says, good evening. Are they having a laugh with these two players? I think so. I think we're being punked. I think we're being, we're being clowned. We're being, I feel like they're kicking dirt in our face. They're having a laugh. They're taking the piss out of us right now with these two transfers. I mean, it's a disgrace. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. INEOS would be better trying to run a circus. The whole outfit is full of clowns with no ringmaster. Well, I mean, I think they are running a circus. And I unfortunately, I think the circus is our football club. I mean, even the new stadium that they built with that horrible looking netting that they did, I mean, everybody said it looked like a fucking circus. So, I don't know. You want to go down a rabbit hole, symbolism and all that type of crazy conspiracy stuff. I don't know. I mean, they did a model for a new stadium, and it looked beautiful up until they put 3 of the tridents up and the netting, and everybody was like, it looks like a circus. And then everybody took the piss out of us, all the rivals, and they were like, it's very fitting because United is a circus anyway. So, I think they're running a circus. The circus is our football club, unfortunately. Renoso says the overall picture is to keep the club popular and competitive enough to move forward with the stadium redevelopment, raising the value and income of the club, which is financially smart business. And that's what I think he put it better than I have. But that's really what I'm trying to say. And I think that's what it is. And I think it's all a play, it's all a plot, it's all a ploy, and it's all for that. It's all for that. I was very concerned when, love him or hate him, but when Goldbridge did the video, when they found out that Manchester United actually owns 2 pieces of land, 2 plots of land in that area that they're going to do redevelopment, and that the Glazers knew about it since the time that they took over the club, and we never knew about it up until literally, whenever he did that video. That I found extremely concerning because I was like, well, that's money, and land is expensive, and land is scarce in today's time. And they've been sitting on that for this entire time. So then that always makes me think, well, what else are they sitting on? What else are they looking at that we can't really see? You know, we're on the outside trying to look in, the glass is fogged up. What else can't we actually see? What else are we actually missing? What are we, you know, I constantly sit here and feel like there's scheming. They're constantly scheming, and I can't actually see the full picture. And I constantly have this feeling in my gut, like there is something else there that we can't actually see, that we are not able to actually grasp the full picture. And I'm just like, there's something else going on. There's something else that they know. There's something else that they have in their pocket that we are not aware of. And whatever it is, it's obviously not good for us. It's obviously not good for our football club. It's brilliant for them, but it's not good for us. And I'm constantly just I'm trying to like just look everywhere. I'm constantly trying to just think of different scenarios and different things. And I was like, if I was these people, you know, what would I be doing to look to do? And but I can't get the answer because they're in a different position than I am. They have access to the full picture. We have access to like a quarter of it. And also the problem with the quarter that we have access to is that it is watered down. Okay. We get fed information from journalists. Who do they have in their pocket as journalists? Some people will say it's quite clear, but I'm sure there's actors out there that hide it well. You know, everything is diluted. Everything is diluted. Everything is watered down. Everything is to drop us down, to bring us down, to you know, chip away at us. And they've been doing this. You know, specifically for me, some people will say, you know, they should have never bought the club, and you know, we were protesting them from the second they owned it. And, you know, it started from then. But for me specifically, the real disgustingness of it started when Sir Alex Ferguson walked out that door. But Reynoso is right. I mean, the general gist of it is just keep the club in the media, keep it talked about, keep it, you know. And even so, like, right, like, listen, even in this space and in any other space, especially with social media, think about it in a broader terms. Okay, what do they usually say? Negative sells more, it gets more clicks. Okay, so even if the club tends to do decently good and then it's a disaster, it ultimately it still somehow goes back and benefits them. Okay, when United finish in 15th. And everybody's shitting on Ruben, and it's a whole disaster, and everybody's taking the piss out of us, and everybody's fired up. It looks bad, but at the same time, it's good for them. We're being kept on the forefront of all the news. We're constantly talked about. It's, you know, I know I sound maybe like I'm a crazy conspiracy theory, but I think it does run pretty deep. I think these guys are quite intricate, and I think the mistake that a lot of our fans do is we say Glazers and we say Glazers and INEOS are morons, like they're really stupid people. They're not technically stupid people because you don't make the money and you don't run things that you do by being dumb people. You could be dumb in certain aspects, but when it comes to running businesses, making money, tricking people, and getting money out of them, they're not stupid people, are they? In that area, they are smart people. They are brilliant people in that area. Simon says the window closes in about 10 days time, and any players we will get will just be on loan. But regarding money, who is the loan arranger behind any players we are trying to get? Well, that's the thing. I don't really know, because we had Johnny Evans was the loan manager, and I don't know if that's just specifically to loan players out of the football club. It might be to loan players into the football club as well. But ultimately, I would say it would have to go to Wilcox, Vivell, and Barada. Are the ones that are in charge of that whole thing. But, you know, like I said in the beginning of the show, and some of you weren't here for this, they have done what I've been fearful that they were going to do, and I've been alluding to, and I've been saying that they cannot do this because it is a disgrace. Point blank and center. It is a disgrace. they have wasted the first 2 weeks of the January window. Okay? They got covered by the sacking of Ruben. They were able to hide behind that, which was perfect for them. Okay? They then got Carrick in. They then wasted more time saying, oh, we don't know because Carrick's here and he's not really going to be the manager, so we don't know if we could get anybody in. Now, we have less, like Simon said, there's less than 2 weeks. There's 10 days left. Now we're getting a story talking about Ndidi and Loftus Cheek. And this is what I was saying that they were going to do. Because they make it look very bleak. They make it look like we're not going to do anything. And then they wait till the last second. They do something that's, in my opinion, I consider it to be bullshit. I consider it to be half-assed. It's not real. It's a fake thing to do. You know, to go, let's say like 5 days before the windows close, or maybe you do it 2 days, or maybe you do it on the deadline day, and they announce United have loaned in Ruben Loftus Cheek. It's, the level of that is bullshit. But what they will do is then say, well, we got you something. We did something. And then there are people out there that eat that up and go, well, it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. At least we did something. At least we got something. You know, let's get behind it. Let's get behind it and back it. And then ultimately, when it's shit, because anybody with 2 eyes and half a football brain knows that that's not the level that we need, and it goes to shit, well, then it's too late. You know why? Because we end up in March or we end up in April. And what happens is when you get to March and April, then they start giving you harder core stories about, yeah, we're going to go get Elliot Anderson. United are making advances for Baleba and stuff like that. But it's like, well, if our season falls apart in March or April and we're out of Champions League, well, we've just monumentally failed. And then now you're going to cover it up with a shiny new toy in that you're going to, maybe you do get Baleba because Baleba doesn't care if we're in the Champions League. And people love Baleba. But ultimately, it's like, well, we just fucked ourselves over when we could have done something way better. And we could have been in an overall, we could have been way better. And that's where I kind of feel like we're again, they're trying to sit on this line. They don't want to do proper business as a football club. They don't want to be a real football club. But what they want is that European money. So it's like some accountant somewhere is balanced, he's crunching numbers. And he's like, okay, if we spend like this little bit of money, the minimum amount, and then we can go and get the Champions League. So we maximize the profit of money instead of the opposite way around. We still can't get rid of any players yet. Our sponsors should be Poundland. Well, again, it's just like they don't, again, like to me, I look at it and I'm just like, it's business as usual. First quarter, we don't do any business. Don't sell, don't get in. The books need to be balanced. Big businesses don't sell. I work in the construction. You know, I work in construction in America that is, you know, capitalism country. Okay. Major corporations and businesses, they don't spend money in the first quarter. There's like construction-wise, there's not a lot of work right now. There's a lot of people that are looking for work. There's not a lot of jobs going on, and it's always like this. I've been doing this for 5-6 years. Every January, and up until maybe like the back end of February, it's very slow. And why is it slow? Because nobody actually goes and spends money. It's just how businesses operate. It's just an accounting thing. It's just the proper way to do it when you have a business. And this is what these people do to us. Because they run it like a business. They don't run it like a football club. A football club, unfortunately, I have to say this, but a football club is like what Manchester City does, okay? They are, and by the way, they're getting the piss taken out of them with this Champions League game. And we've, you know, maybe we set them on that course. But what I'm saying is, they have been sort of lower in their standards than what they have been doing for the past few years. They have gone out and bought Semenyo. They've gone out and got Marcus Gahey. Okay? That's what a proper football club, a big proper football club, that's what a big proper football club does. They don't sit there and say, oh, it's January, the first quarter, we can't spend any money because it's bad for the books. They go, we need players. We're trying to catch up to Arsenal. We're trying to win again. We're trying to be whatever we need to be. So we got to go spend money. Villa are in third. They're looking to go and get Jean-Philippe Mateta. All right, well, Jean-Philippe Mateta has been linked to us since the summer. They've been giving us stories since the summer window closed up into January, talking about that we might be interested in him for the summer. And Villa, being a proper football club, will be like, we're not going to wait till the summer. We need something to give us a more of a push. We're hanging about there, and we'll go pay 20 million, because 20 million is a justified price to go pay for somebody that plays for Crystal Palace that's going to make an impact in your front line and score you more goals. But we don't do these things. We don't do these things. Elias says, yeah, so true, something is up. Remember, the Glazers' debt is on the club. Perhaps that's the thing. And Elias says, once the Glazers sell, they are going to make bank. They are going to laugh their way out the club. They're laughing right now. But you're absolutely right. And I think that's like their trophy, That's their Premier League trophy. That's their ultimate goal. Their highest achievement in life, their grand thing, is when they ultimately sell this football club for the price that they sell it. And it'll be astronomical, because that's clearly what they're going for. That's clearly their ultimate goal, is that they want to go down in some sort of history in making literally one of the greatest business transactions ever made in the history of the world forever. And they're pretty much halfway there, I would say, because the way they took the club with no money, the way they loaded all the debt onto the club and they never have to pay it back. And the final stage of that is when they sell it. They sell it for 10 billion. Not only did they take $1 billion now, not only did they get paid by Sir Jim Ratcliffe as well and made money on that, and they got all the dividends, they then got paid another 10 billion on top of it. And they ride off to the sunset, and then when they go and they hang out with all their, rich billionaire elitist friends in the world, and they go to these parties or whatever, they'll be sitting around, and, all their snobby little fuckers will come up to them and be like, do tell us how you completely pulled that off. I mean, it's absolutely amazing that you were able to do such a, monumental business transaction, the likes that nobody's seen. And they'll be sitting there, drinking their little champagne or whatever they do, laughing about it, talking about, yeah, we totally fucking, pulled off the biggest heist in the world. And I think that's ultimately what they want. I think that's what they want. If we get any players, then we can forget about key players we are chasing. City have already signed 2 players and could get Anderson, so it's a bargain basement time. Well, that's the other thing. Again, it's like you sit on your ass, and this is why I kept saying, like, they want to keep pushing stories, talking to me about the summer. We've been here before. Every January that we've ever done, INEOS or no INEOS, we have been here, and they constantly say, well, it's a difficult window to do business, but don't worry, we got transfer targets for the summer. And it's like, you don't even know if those guys are gonna be there, bro. What happens when other teams come in for them and we don't get them? Everything you promised me in December, by the time we get to June, those guys aren't even there anymore. You were telling us we were gonna get this guy or get that guy. They're fucking gone. They've gone to other clubs. Because we sat on our ass and we did nothing. I mean, listen, it could take ages, but I don't know what's going to happen. So, Bernosa says, nah, bro, nothing cocoa about what you're saying. A billionaire's world is the same as a politician's, and they make moves that we will barely ever understand. Yeah, I mean, listen, I guess you got to be fully in the game to fully understand the picture, which is always the problem that ordinary, regular people have. I mean, we're not privy to a lot of the shit, which is unfortunate for us because a lot of that shit impacts our lives and, we don't know what's happening. So, and then we don't have control over it either. And then we have to suffer that. Ultimately, we have to suffer the consequences. We suffer the ultimate consequences of these people that are essentially playing, real life Monopoly or, Tycoon, those Tycoon games. Like they're playing business Tycoon right now, and then ultimately we have to suffer because of it. So, listen, the thing about the Glazers selling is it could be 2 years, it could be 8 years, it could be 15 years. Nobody actually knows. And we can't actually know for the reasons that I just explained. So ultimately, we're at sort of, we're sort of beholden to them because it's like we have to wait for them to decide that it's, okay, we've gotten what we wanted and now we'll fuck off. And that's pretty much it. So Grace is here. Says, bring me Loftus Cheek and P. Diddy, and we win the league. Simon says, by the end of the window, we could be the only big club that hasn't done any business at all regarding getting rid and buying. And I think that's a strong possibility. And it's a disgrace. Like I've been saying, it is a disgrace. It is an absolute disgrace. This should not be happening at our football club. Should not be happening at our football club. Should never be acceptable at our football club. It can't be acceptable at a football club. And with the way that these guys operate, and when I say these guys, I don't mention the Glazers because the Glazers are self-explanatory. We know they're all, just assholes. Okay, so there's no leeway for them. They're in the negative. Okay, they're not even at 0%. They're negative. But with INEOS, since they're new and they've gotten involved and they promised us all these things, they don't get any leeway out of this. They don't get any. I lost what the point that I was saying. They don't get to say, oh, there's no money. Oh, there's nothing that we can do. No. We can't accept that. We can't accept that. It's a very hard line. Especially for the way we have discussions, especially for the way that we try to, be level-headed about things and be realistic about things and not like say things that is like not possible. But the problem with that is that I've been finding is they come out, they tell us we don't have money, and everybody just accepts it and just goes, yeah, we're quite fucked. And then there's people that do the financial aspects and they crunch the numbers and they say, well, yeah, United are losing money and, it's not it's not in the greatest financial stature. And, then you get a story about United are very close to worrying about FFP. And then, I get to this point and I'm just like, what is real? I'm starting to think everything is fake. I'm starting to think everything is just, it's just all an act. It's all a play. I'm starting to think everything that we receive is coming from these guys, and they're just trying to trick us. We get a bunch of reports from a bunch of journalists that says, "Oh, United doesn't have a lot of money, so we can't spend." And it's like, well, hold on. If you sit there and think about it, right? If you sit there and think about it, we don't know if that's true or not. There's actually no way for us to know if that's true. Even the guys that are financial people that work in the financial sector that could look at the earnings and all that stuff and crunch the numbers, they don't have access to the full picture. So they can't actually give you a full detail of, they can't actually 100% confirm if United can or cannot spend money. We are beholden to the Glazers. And if we're beholden to the Glazers, there's no trust with the Glazers. So when they come out and they tell us, well, we can't spend any money because it's looking quite tight, I don't know. How can I believe that now? How can I not sit here and say, no, you need to be spending money? I don't give a shit what you tell me. I don't care what sob story you're telling me that the club is broke or the club can't do business. I don't trust you people. You people are liars. You cheaters. You stealers. You greedy fuckers. You want to put the money in your bank account. You've robbed this club blind. And then you want me to believe the journalist that you fed information to that we're basically broke and we can't spend money. Are we actually broke, or are you like one of my friends? Are you like one of my friends? I have a friend, and listen, it's his life and he can live the way he wants, but I've seen this before. But I have a friend. This guy has money, okay? He has money, and listen, he could do whatever he wants with his money, but what I'm saying is he's got money. He's well off. I know he's well off because I know what he does, and I've seen the money that he has. This guy walks around life like he's on his last fucking dollar. And sometimes it irritates me because I'm like, listen, I get it. You want to be financially responsible with your money. You want to. But there's a certain point. It's like, dude, just relax a little bit. Stop acting like you're homeless and you're living in your car, because you're not, all right? It's not, it's not going to destroy you if every once in a while you just spend a little bit. Not everything has to be a financial decision where you're doing the balances on the spreadsheet to see if, like, for example, like one time we were going to a concert, right? To an event. And the tickets, listen, in America, they're expensive, but we were in Malta. The tickets are cheap compared to here. And it's like everybody was going and everybody paid the ticket. The tickets are decent prices. They're not overpriced. They're decent prices, especially for people like us, that we tend to make more money here than they do over there. It's way cheaper for us. This guy's like, he spent 2.5 weeks not buying the ticket at the price it was. And I kept telling him, the tickets are going to sell out. You should buy the tickets. He spent 2.5 weeks trying to get a lower price on the ticket than what it already was. The tickets sold out. And then the resales were way more expensive. And he's like, oh, now I can't get, and then he's begging people like, yo, find me a ticket, find me. And it's like, dude, you had an opportunity to buy a ticket. You didn't want to pay $60. You didn't want to pay $60. You make a shit ton of money. You can afford $60 ain't going to break you. It ain't going to kill you. I ain't telling you to blow your money away. But dude, if you wanted to go, if you wanted to come with us, everybody else paid $60. You could have paid $60 instead of trying to find it for $50. You know what I mean? And this is what I feel like the same thing is like, we can actually buy players. We can actually spend money. But if the Glazers decide and say, well, we don't really have money. It's like, okay, but no. But we actually do have money. But you're just telling us we don't have money because you don't want to spend that specific money. Baleba could sign for another club in the summer instead of waiting for United to pull their fingers out. Well, that is true as well, and that's true with anybody else. The only thing that seems to be in our corner with Baleba is that Baleba seems to be a bit like Cunha and Mbeumo, where he wants to come to Manchester United. He adores Manchester United. That thing is saving our ass, because if we didn't have people like that, who would we be getting? Think about that aspect. If Cunha wasn't such a United fan, and Mbeumo wasn't the same, who would we have ended up getting? Because there was other players that we quite clearly couldn't get. There was other players that they were like, yeah, listen, we would have liked to come to United, but you guys are not in Champions League and your project isn't really that great. And, I got Arsenal and I got, another club that has been way more steady than you. So I'm going to go there, but thanks for the offer. And it's like, well, who would we have actually ended up with if we're not lucky that we are, that our past, our history is sort of keeping us afloat to a certain degree, because these people aren't keeping us afloat. We're technically living off the name. We're technically living off the past glories. And that's how we're operating business anyway. We're lucky that we were so good at a period of time that people have grown up to a certain age where they idolized us and they still look at us as a big club and they want to come to us. If we didn't have those players like that, who would we be ending up with? I think about that all the time. I'm like, if it wasn't for Cunha and it wasn't for Mbeumo, that they happen to have a certain level of ability, and then they also happen to have a certain love for Manchester United, who would we have ended up getting? Because I think I'm worried about that, because I think it probably would have been shit. And we would be in complete turmoil right now. It would be way worse than whatever has gone on this season. By the time the Glazers sell, both brothers and myself will just be very old. Well, listen, there's always the possibility that they don't sell. Maybe they pass it on down to their children. I don't know. Nobody knows. Simon says, we are Manchester United, the biggest club in England. We shouldn't have to suffer this every year. The lower clubs do better. Sunderland did well in the last window, and that's what I'm saying. That's why it's a disgrace, and that's why it's a joke. And that's why I was disagreeing with Lucky, because he was trying to say we're an average club and we're not a big club. And I'm like, no. That doesn't mean the same thing. It's like the same thing as like, when people say somebody is a good person and then somebody says they're a great person, people get the definitions mixed up. great is not the same meaning as good. It doesn't have the same meaning. You can be a great person and still be an evil person. Okay? Somebody being good doesn't mean that you're great. Like, you can be a great person but be a horrible human being. You can still be great in stature. That's what that means. But it doesn't mean you're a good person. Being a good person is a totally different definition. And that's the same. We are a big club. We are a massive club. We operate like a mid-table club a lot. And we are what we've been over the past 10 to 12 years is average or mediocre. But our club in stature is still massive. Our club in stature is still great. It's still monumental. It's still worldwide. And it is a disgrace that we operate like a mid-table club. Like Simon said, we are the biggest club in England. Doesn't mean we're the best club in England, because we're not, but we are the biggest club in England. And we are one of the biggest clubs in the world. If not, some of our fans would make the argument that we are the biggest club in the world. But we don't operate like it. We don't act like it. And that is where the discrepancy is. Because every United fan knows deep down we should be acting our age, essentially. We're not acting our age. We're supposed to be a grown adult. We're acting like children. That's what we're doing. And it's not our fault. It's the people that own us. It's their fault. It's always been their fault. You're not fooling us, 60,000s, which going to be Fulham Arsenal. Well, I hope the protest is massive. I hope it's huge. I hope it's, goes well. I'll be watching, I'll be supporting, I'll be reposting some of the pictures and, some of the videos that comes out online and whatever else I could do. And, I'll throw up a couple posts with the hashtag of whatever hashtag they go with, which I believe will still be United is broken. And, we need them. So, again, I always said these guys are leading the front line. They have an exceptionally tough battle. It's not easy in any way. There's so many different pockets of battles all over the place that they have to deal with. It's not just simple at going to Glazers. We need to try and win the war in getting more fans involved and more fans on side and more fans to stick on the message and stick, and not get distracted by other bullshit that's going on, and stay locked in. And, that's a whole war in itself. So they have a massive job that they have to do. They are fighting, an uphill battle. It's not easy. So I'm glad that they didn't back down. I'm glad that they're continuing going ahead. They need to do that. They need to show that they're serious. They need to lead by example. Okay? Because there's people out there that, they're not leaders, they're followers. So, and you know what? Some people might take offense to that. They might think that that's sort of a negative thing, but everybody in the world has their role. And some people are leaders, some people are followers, and that's just what it is. And you need people to lead, and the other people will follow. And both of them need those. The leaders need the followers need the leaders. They work hand in hand together. Bodo Glimt have beaten City 3-1. Good. They deserve it. I saw that. I saw sort of the scoreline. I wasn't watching the game per se, but I did see the scoreline, and and just real quick, just to kick them while they're down. I mean, I've said this. Pep Guardiola has never rebuilt a team in his career, and this is why he will never be Sir Alex Ferguson. He will never be better than Sir Alex Ferguson, because not only did Sir Alex Ferguson win all the things that he won, but Sir Alex Ferguson was the remaster of rebuilding teams, and he did it multiple times, and Pep has never done that. And it looks like Pep will never do it, because look how it's going for them. I mean, they're not necessarily in the bad position in the league, but they're not hitting the highs of what they just did in the past previous seasons. They don't look like that team. They had that team. That team is gone. That team got old. A lot of the players are out. They got new people in. He's never actually in his career gone and rebuilt the team. So maybe this is his last season, I wonder if the Glazers kids are as bold as their parents. I don't know. I don't even know what they look like. I'm not even 100% sure if they have kids. I would assume that they have kids. But you Google Joel Avram Glazer, I don't even think it lists that they have children, so I don't know. But I would assume that they have children. Avram Glazer is looking more like Uncle Fester. Well, there's an Uncle Fester as well. That Liverpool supporter that streams. I forget his actual name, but they call him Fester as well. I just wonder how many more players Chelsea are going to buy and possibly not sell. Oh, as many as they want. I mean, they have unbelievable amount of money. And I believe they have a thing as well, right? With the deal that they did, that they have to spend a certain amount of money. There is a clause there. And this is, if I was a Chelsea fan, I don't know if I'm on the money on this, but from what I understood at that time, there's a clause in the Chelsea club that when the new owners, that they had to spend a certain amount of money before they were able to actually, like, taking profits out, if they wanted to take profits out, and they called it, like the anti-Glazer clause or something like that. It's literally named after our shit owners. Like, that's how you know our owners are fucking disgrace. That another club got in owners and put in a clause named after them so that they don't hard R-word, the club, like they've done to ours, okay? But yeah, I mean, I if I'm correct, I would be a bit worried if I was a Chelsea fan, because it seems like they want to be spending all this exceptional money so they can hit that thing, and then they can actually start taking money out of the football club, because they can't take money out till they hit the threshold of investing a certain amount. So I'd be worried about that, but that's their problem, not for us. McTominay has scored for Napoli. Their match tonight. Has he again? Who are they playing, by the way? Simon says Pep want to turn the Etihad back into a fortress with the signings before he leaves. I'm sure he does, but I don't know if he necessarily likes those projects. You know what I mean? Grace says, do you rate Ugarte? He looked so good for Sporting, but he didn't suit PSG because they wanted their pivot player to be Rodri profile, whereas Sporting used centre-backs for their build-up. His carrying and ball-winning stats were good. Well, I think what we were doing with Ruben, I didn't rate him, and I felt like he's fairly limited, but listen, we're going to be playing slightly different. We're going to play a different way, so I'm going to wait to judge him to see how he's doing, but he has some good aspects to his game, and I knew he was always fairly limited anyway. When we bought him, I never really, I didn't have to watch him. I just went to go take a look at his stats, in-depth stats, and you could see where he was performing and how he performs well in certain areas, and obviously always the tackling side of thing, winning the ball back and stuff like that was his high thing. Progressive passes, he was shit. And that hasn't changed. Before we bought him, he was shit at progressive passes, and that hasn't changed. So I don't know. We got to see how it plays out. I mean, if we have certain players that can maybe compensate for the lack of progression and it sort of balances itself out, it's not necessarily a bad thing. But if we don't have those things and he continues to be fairly limited, then I don't think it's a player that can really work out here, and maybe he has to go somewhere else. So, I just hope the Glazers don't have their ugly mugs on any of our shirts. What a frightening thought. No, they wouldn't do that. They if they could have it their way, nobody would know their name and everybody would forget who they are, and they'd be able to operate, behind the scenes. It's the reason why they're not mentioned in the media a lot until we essentially force it. You know what I mean? It's the reason why journalists that might do investigative journalism, it's the reason why they don't actually go and do the story themselves to, bring truth and sort of justice, which is what investigative journalism used to be. In today's world, it's quite dead. But yeah, if they had it their way, they'd press a button and we wouldn't even know they exist, and they'd just continue to do the thing they do. So they wouldn't put their faces on our shirts. They don't want to be known like that. They don't want to be talked about like that. They want to hide. as much as possible. They don't want to be in front of cameras. And you get that quite clear. I mean, there's been a few instances where, reporters or people with cameras, journalists, have spotted them in public and have run up on them trying to ask them a question, and they never say anything. And if they do say something, it's, a sentence, and it's bullshit. They don't want to be on camera. They don't want to be in public. It's the reason why they don't show up to the matches, except for, the finals, because they're fucking, required to do so. And it's more of a bad look. The negatives outweigh the positives on that one. If you don't show up to an FA Cup final and you're the owner, that's really bad. But for all the other games, like regular Premier League seasons, it's bad for you to show up if you don't want to be the forefront. The less you show yourself, the less you're kind of on people's minds. If they were showing up to Old Trafford every week, the camera showing them, people are chanting against them, people know they're at the games, like the hostility stays, the hostility sticks, it actually builds, it actually grows. What they do is they hide in the shadows, and people forget about them, and people get caught up with other bullshit that's going on at the football club. The less you're seen, the less you're, on people's minds. Napoli's playing Copenhagen away. Yeah, they should be winning that game. Cash says, I saw many fans and podcasters going berserk for that Carrick win. Guess it makes sense that City are weak defensively. Bodo beating them 3-1. LOL, delusional fans. We are at least sane here. Well, listen, I mean, I did see a couple people say, well, maybe it wasn't a Carrick masterclass. Maybe it's just City or shit, maybe that's true, but we'll find out because we got the big match against Arsenal. And, Arsenal have been a bit woeful from open play, but they're still the top team in the Premier League. And, they're playing right now in the Champions League and they're winning. So, I would say, listen, if it's not a fluke, go prove it against Arsenal. You know what I mean? And we'll see what happens. But, listen, it was good to celebrate. It was nice because it was a lot of nerves. Nobody knew. I mean, some people were saying we were going to win, or they felt like we were going to win, but nobody actually knew. In that situation, especially in a derby, form and all that shit goes out the window. So you tend to kind of get randomness anyway. But in that situation specifically, Carrick's first match in charge, and, he only had 3 days to prepare for that. You had no clue what you were going to get. And then to get the win that we got, like, obviously you're going to celebrate it, you're going to be overjoyed and stuff like that, but it was important to say, some people do get too carried away. Some people, we won and they said that we're winning the league now after that, and they're serious about it. They're not joking about it. They're serious about it. But we said, listen, we're going to enjoy it, banter it, celebrate it. But just remember, it's one match, and let's see what we get in the next match, Gray says, but we need that profile with Casemiro going. Just need a progressive passer next to him. Can't see us buying 3 new midfielders in the summer. Well, he might stay. We don't know for sure if he's going. I mean, there is a clause. There is a clause that if he plays the remaining matches, that he stays for another year. He needs to play every single match for the rest of the season. And I think it's start every single match for the rest of the season. That clause gets activated. And also, United haven't actually made a decision on if he's going or if he's staying. And I don't know if they're going to make that decision. I don't know if they're going to wait for the new manager. I don't know if, maybe Carrick ends up getting the job full time and he keeps Casemiro, or he wants to keep Casemiro. We don't actually know. So, but I think you're right to a certain extent. I mean, like, if Casemiro does go, I don't see how we necessarily buy 3 midfielders. But then again, I also didn't necessarily see how we would have bought 2 number 10s, and we bought 2 number 10s. So, I'm not 100% sure, Grace. Casemiro's staying is crazy, but Ugarte has more value in the market to make profit. Yeah, and also, like, I kind of think, like, again, like, the difference between Cass and Ugarte is, like, listen, the problem that I have with Ugarte is obviously the wages. I value his experience. I don't think he should necessarily, if we keep him, I don't think he should be a starter. Again, for me, if I was in that position, if I can get a situation where I get Casemiro to lower his wages so it's reasonable and it's not 350,000 a week, and then use him as a squad player, and then also bring in new players that are obviously going to be the future and balance it out for an extra year, I'd probably go down that route. I don't have a problem with that. Ugarte for me is a bit iffy one because he played really good and he's been playing a little bit better since Ruben has been gone and it's sort of a different system. So that's why I'm kind of going to give him the opportunity to see, because previous to that, I don't think he wasn't the guy that we needed, right? He wasn't the guy that fit Ruben's system. That midfielder needed to be very well rounded, and he's limited, but he does do some aspect of the game well. So I just got to see what it's going to be going forward to really make a final determination on Ugarte, good or bad. You know, how is it going to look? Is the limitedness still too limited that we need somebody that has more, or can you balance it out like you're saying, Grace, and just have somebody next to him and it kind of compensates and it balances itself out and it's okay. But we got to see. We got to see. For me, it's a bit too early. We got to see how the rest of the season goes with Carrick. You know. Still no Palan goal. 4 games now. My nickname for Haaland. Yeah, I call him Ghostland. So. But we never had a problem playing at the top teams. Arsenal games means nothing to me. Few games after that matters more. Well, listen, I don't think you should say it doesn't mean nothing, because it's still a test, and we could still lose that match, and we could still, there's always the potential that we could get battered by them. So, and it's away, right? And they are the top team in the league, so it's still a test of its own. I get what you're saying, in that, our bigger issues is the smaller teams, the ones that don't play football, the ones that compact the space. And those are separate tests. And you're right. And when we get to those for me will ultimately be sort of the bigger tests. But this is still a big test. It still matters a lot. If we could go to the Emirates, get a win against the top team in the Premier League away from home and get 3 points and, push us up, I mean, it's absolutely massive. And then we have to, then if we do that, then, once we start going to those other games, like you're saying, Cash, when we go to those other few games, then those are the tests. We have to deal with them when we get there, and then ultimately it'll let us know, what's the real story here. But sort of one game at a time. Let's hit the Arsenal one first. Let's see what we get out of it. Let's see how we perform. Let's see, how we look, and then we'll go from there, They're basically what Paulie was to the Bamboo Lounge on Goodfellas. Goated show, by the way. Goated movie. Goodfellas. I was thinking of Sopranos. Goodfellas, one of my favorite movies of all time. I love the mob movies. Love them. Love them. Love all the mob movies. Goodfellas, to me, is like ultimate classic. To me, Goodfellas, like, if there's a person and they tell me they've never watched Goodfellas or they don't like Goodfellas, we can't be friends. I'm sorry. That's one of those things to me. That's one of those cultural things to me. I absolutely love that movie. I'm pretty sure there was a chick one time that I was talking to, and I was talking to her about movies and stuff like that, and I told her about Goodfellas, and she was like, "Oh, I've never watched it," and I was just like, I looked at her and I was just like, "Get away from me, you disgust me." I was like, "I don't want to talk to you anymore." I was like, "You've never watched Goodfellas," and I was like, "And I was like, and you want us to be something?" I was like, "We can't be anything." I was like, "You've never watched Goodfellas? What kind of uncultured person are you? Never watched Goodfellas? Come on." We're not going to get along. If you never watched Goodfellas, we can't. There's no way we're going to be able to like be in a relationship. There's no way. We're on 2 totally different spectrums here. United did have the wind in their sails in that match. Just hope we don't run out of poof. Well, we'll find out. We'll find out. By the way, guys, just make sure you hit the you hit the like button. All right, appreciate it. Thank you to everybody that did so far. I need to pick up where I left off because I jumped to Grace's and then I went back. I wonder where Bruno's next goal is coming from. There was a time when he couldn't stop scoring. Now his goals have dried up. Listen. I don't. If he's getting assists, I don't care if he's scoring. You know, he in the match against City, he played brilliantly. He was the service provider. He was the playmaker, and ultimately we won the game. So, yeah, it'd be nice if he gets goals or whatever, but I also don't want to end up in the situation like you were saying, Simon. Like, there was one point where if Bruno didn't score, we were shit. If Bruno didn't score, we didn't win games. And we don't, for the position he plays, more assists than goals. He needs both, but he needs to be the provider. We have people around him. They got to be the goal scorers, and he chips in every once in a while. So, more Casemiro can't even play 90 minutes. Well, that's the truth too, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't necessarily have a problem. I don't listen. If you get in Champions League race or Europe, right, Europa League, and we're playing 2 to 3 games a week, I don't necessarily have a problem if we negotiate his contract down, get the wage down, and keep him as a squad player. We're going to need depth. I think that experience and his whole career and stuff, you can't actually, like, we won't actually be able to replace that. And I don't trust these people as they are, as it is now, because I think they're fucking incompetent. And, again, like, we'll be lucky. They've been pushing, telling us that we're going to get 2 midfielders. I don't know what's going to happen now. I think at least a midfielder for sure, because I think we need one regardless, right? So 1 for sure. But I don't know what happens now. We're playing a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2 or whatever it is. We don't even know who the actual manager is going to be. So I wouldn't be surprised if it goes from two midfielders to now we're only going to get 1 or something like that, or whatever. I don't know what they're going to do. But I would like the squad depth as much as possible. That's why I'm not necessarily against keeping Maguire either. I don't think none of these guys, keeping Maguire and keeping Cass for 1 more season, while we bring in new guys and then transition a little bit more to the future, and then using them as squad depth for that season, I think that's totally manageable. I think it's fine. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I don't actually... And that's where I think people get mad because they're like, oh, but we need to sell them to get money and we need to free up the money. And this is where I look at the club and I say, yeah, but is that actually true? Or are they full of shit? Because for me, it's like, I don't know if I can trust these people when they say, well, we can't really do business. We need to, we need to get this guy we need to get this guy's wages off so we could free up. And it's like, is that true? Or is that your ulterior motive because you're trying to make the club look better on paper financially for whatever reason you do? Because in normal circumstances, you would buy the players that you are saying are going to be like the new face of the project and keeping a Casemiro or Maguire for an extra season should not derail anything. It shouldn't stop you from getting new transfers in. It shouldn't stop the progression of any sort of younger player. Like, for example, Heaven and Euro shouldn't stop their progression at all. We're going to be playing more matches. We're going to need to rotate more. There's probably going to be a bunch of injuries. So, I think in normal circumstances, you can absolutely keep Maguire and Casemiro for 1 more season. Use them as sort of, squad players. They shouldn't be starting, and you should be going and signing people that are going to be the new future, or, that are going to be here, that are going to be the starters, and swap them around and use them when you need them. Maguire has experience, Cass has experience. I think it'd be good for the club, and especially, you get these signings in, and, what happens if they struggle? What happens if they're having a hard time? What if you need to lean a little bit on the experience? Well, if we get rid of the experience is gone. There's nobody to lean to, United keeping tabs on Sunderland midfielder Noah Siddiqui in a swap deal for Ugarte, and they can have him. But everything Ugarte has had in a run of games he's done well. That's what I'm saying. So I just think it's too early to judge at this moment in time because things have changed. So I'll just give him to the end of the season because I don't think he's going anywhere in January anyway. I don't think he was ever really going to go anywhere in January. Maybe if Ruben was here, it would have been a different story. But once you got Ruben out, I think that was it. I think all the transfers in and out, everything is dead for the most part. So for me, Ugarte, where he stands right now, is you're right. He's had a run of games and he's done well, and I agree. And he's definitely done better than he was doing before, which is encouraging and positive. But he's got from now till the last match of the season, and then we'll look at it in the totality, and then you make a decision. Then, when we get to the summer, and we say, well, did he do good enough? Did he warrant, sort of an argument that he can play a part in the team, that he'll have an impact into the team, that he'll be good going forward, or should we look to sell him because he doesn't seem like he was the right buy? And, we'll sell him, we'll get some of the money back, and then we'll go and get somebody else and use it elsewhere. Cash says, we need a statement signing, someone who is ready at center mid, one left back. Statement signings only. It's only possible if we win 80% of our games post-Arsenal. Well, yeah, I would have liked some sort of a statement signing in January. That's what I was saying earlier, So, as far as I can remember, Lauren says, I always wanted to be a podcaster. Have you seen the Godfather trilogy then? Of course. Of course. Loved every minute of it. Loved every minute of it. Watched The Godfather. What's the other one? I forgot the name of it, but there's the Boston one. It's with Whitey Bulger, who was Irish gangster. That one's really good too. I forgot the name of it though. I watched it like a few years ago. But that one was really good as well. That one's excellent. Sopranos, watched it. Any of the movies with Joe Pesci in it and Robert De Niro. I've watched them all. Casino. I love all those movies. I love them all. What a time that was. You know what I mean? What a time those eras was. Yeah, it's not like today. What a time that was. Crazy shit. Some fucked up shit happened, but I mean, it's cool, man. I always look at it, I'm like, it's so cool. I wish I was. Sometimes I say I wish I was there, but then I say, if I was in that era, I know I'd probably wouldn't be here. I'd probably be in the bottom of the river because I'd be up to no good with the rest of them. So, we need another striker. Yes, I've always said we needed a striker as well. We needed a striker. We needed another striker when we bought Rasmus Højlund. We needed another striker when it was Rasmus Højlund's second season. We needed another striker when we signed Sesko. But I don't know. So, and then there's always the question mark over Xerxes. There has been updates about Xerxes. That Xerxes, first of all, if you're wondering where Xerxes is, he's injured. So, and apparently he told somebody, I think he told the fan, reportedly outside Old Trafford, that he was going to be out for about 2 weeks or something. So, I don't know what's going to happen with that. They said Roma is still interested, even if he has this injury, and that they are trying to get him in January, and he is still interested in going there because he thinks it's best so that he can progress as a player and get the international chance as well. So, I don't know what happens with that, but I think, I don't consider Xerxes as an actual backup striker. But out of all the players we have as sort of a backup striker, I mean, listen, Carrick put Mbeumo there. So, I don't know how you go about this. For a while, Xerxes was always sort of the backup striker to Sesko. It's obviously going to be different now. I don't know if Mbeumo ever plays there again. Maybe it was specific for City. Maybe it's specific maybe when we play Arsenal, and maybe when we go play some other teams, it's different. But I don't know. We got to see. I'm upset that so much of YouTube think it's automatic. We have to replace Carrick with a continental coach with his own team in the summer. Where has that ever got us? Too much football manager. Too much football manager, Lawrence. Too much EAFC career mode, you know? They think it's plug and play. It's not plug and play, it's real life, and everything can go wrong and everything will go wrong. Like he says, got to be two midfielders, otherwise go crazy. Well, we'll see. It's not that Casemiro can't play 90. It's that we have no like-for-like sub for him. I think that's more of the point as well that I wanted to say before. So it's precautionary substitution half the time. As sometimes he's still in the game. He does get tired, though, you know, and, his legs are a little bit... Listen, they go. Like, you look at that City match, he had to come off. He played brilliant. Yeah, he was brilliant. He was brilliant. And you're right, we don't have a like-for-like substitute for him. He's brilliant. But he was fucking tired. 80th minute, I could see it, and I said it. I was talking to my father when I was watching the match, and I was like, he's got to take Cass off. I was like, Cass is fucking dead. He's played absolutely brilliant, but he's dead. I was like, he's got to come off. I was like, we got to take him off. Precautionary injury, but also we need some fresh legs in there. They're making subs, and you can't have tired legs and tired minds out there. So. But to the point that you said, Renault, so on that we don't have like a like for like sub for him. That's where my thing with Ugarte is, because Ugarte is supposed to be sort of, or was technically supposed to be, the defensive midfield sort of option sub or whatever for Casemiro. But the thing is, Cass is brilliant at progressive ball carries and being part of the attack. And Ugarte doesn't have that same level as he does. I think he's done better recently in that he's been getting more involved, going forward and stuff like that, but generally that's never been Ugarte's strengths, and quite clearly Casemiro's done that for like his entire career and he's quite good at it. So in terms of sort of like a like-for-like swap, we don't really have that. And I think we do need that. And that's sort of my problem that I have with a bit of Ugarte. That's why when I say he's limited, I kind of feel like I'm like, yeah, but I think that position is we need Cass, but we need Cass and a younger Cass to some sort of level of a degree. We need somebody that can cut passing lanes. We need somebody that can chase down players. We need somebody that can tackle, but we also need somebody. Listen, they don't have to be, they don't have to be like banging in 10 goals a season, but they need to be able to make good passes, carry the ball forward, get involved in and around the box. Even Casemiro, heading wise off of set pieces and corners, he's really good at it. I think he should score more goals than he does, but he always gets ahead to it. He's always dangerous in that area. The ball always finds his head, always. It's just that he doesn't always find the goal, but he's one of those players. Renault says, it's like we've dominated to 60, 75th minute. Let's protect him for the next game and see out the last bit of the match. Well, yeah, and I think that's also because, again, I think it's, it's a bit of wear and tear on his body. He is a bit older, and there's no need to run him to 90 minutes because his legs are a little bit gone, you know what I mean? And he is a bit on the older side, so you do have to do exactly that, You do have to do exactly that. But sometimes you have to keep up with the pace of the match as well. Lauren says, in my opinion, Ugarte is fine to replace Cass after 70 minutes. Kobe now in the 8 for the 4-3-3, and Bruno has replacements. This is why they don't want signings in January. Yeah, but also at the same time, like I keep saying, like, you can't tell me that we don't want signings in January and then talk to me and then in the same update tell me, but we are going to get you the signings in the summer. And it's like, well, we should be upgrading regardless. And, okay, maybe fair play. You tell me, all right, well, listen, maybe not the midfield, but look at where we are right now. We're not getting anybody. We're not looking to get anything. And if you ask any United fan in the world, they'll give you at least one position. At least one position. like most people will say the midfield, right? A majority of people will say a midfielder. But, even like Cash said before, he said like, one center back. Like every fan in the world will give you at least one position. So it's like, okay, if we don't have the targets for the center mid, there's not like, I refuse to believe that it's like we can't find a center back, we can't find a left back or a right back or, another winger or whatever. There's just no how can it be that we are unable to get anybody at any time in January while other people seem to be able to do deals? And that's what I don't buy. I think it's a bunch of nonsense. I don't believe them when they say this. I think the ultimate thing is that they just don't like to spend money in January because they run it like a business, and a business doesn't spend money in the first quarter in January. It's not proper business. And I think then they then come out with basically fake news and facades of trying to tell people like, oh, the money's a bit tight, or, there's no value in the market, or, it's very tough to do, or, our real targets aren't available right now. They're available in the summer. So it's just like, we're not going to do any business now because, we want to do the business in January, in the summer to get our real transfer targets in. And it's like, yeah, I don't really buy that anymore. I don't buy that. I don't believe them. Now because of the things that they've done and because of the people that they have pushed me into a place where I am now operating and that I am 100% skeptical on everything they say. I now am the total opposite. They've led me to this point. This is their doing, okay? They've pushed me. They've backed me into a corner in that I now have to operate from a position where I think everything is fake, everything is not real, everything is, a show. It's, to put on a facade to just pretend like they're doing things. And until they prove me wrong, that's where I have to stand now because I don't trust them anymore. They've lost my trust. They've lost my backing. And I don't believe them at all. The only thing that I believe is that they are doing everything to line their pockets and make money. That's what I believe. Now, Lauren said, some funds to be made from Xerxes sale, but they seem in no rush this month. Likely to be a loan in the next 10 days as no other deal has been prepared. Not even a loan both ways. Josh won't be happy. Well, yeah. I don't know. These guys. Ugarte defensively has to chase down the danger when Casemiro smells the danger and is usually just a few yards away. Also, you're right about the passing forward. We got Dorgo and Heaven last January, and that wasn't even good enough. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Like, that's not good enough. Like, especially for what they did, and I said it at the time. When you bring in Ruben and you bring him in at the end of November, and we had all of December, and then we had basically all of January. And once everybody figured out that it was like, okay, this isn't the players that we have in this team is not going to work like for what Ruben was trying to do in his system. We need new players. And what did they do? They signed Dorgu and then they signed Heaven. And listen, while they could be good signings, and I'm not saying they're not, but when you look at that situation and you say Ruben needed more players, especially when you double down and you think, well, they let Marcus Rashford go, they let Anthony go, and we signed no players in replacement for them. And if you remember what happened after that period, when we were playing 3 games a week, we started suffering a bunch of injuries deeper into the season, and we ended up in a position where we had no depth, and we were already struggling. The signing of Dorgu, yeah, we needed a left back. That helped, but we needed more. And they didn't do more. They did the bare minimum. And then they try to pass it off as something of like some sort of an accomplishment. When it's not an accomplishment. Not for our club. Not for the size of our club of what we're supposed to be. Again, we're not Brighton. We're not Brentford. This isn't, we're not Sunderland. We're not a small mid-table club. But they make us operate like one. They make us operate like one. And the problem with making us operate like one is our fans have aspirations and standards and demands that we compete with the biggest teams in the league and then ultimately beat all of them. And you can't do that if you're operating like a mid-table club. You just can't. There's just no way to sustain it. It was never good enough. Like, that ultimately, and that's why Ruben went into this season and he kept extra players. And that's why he was very reluctant. We were getting all those stories that he was reluctant to let people go out on loan because he knew from last season, he knew he got fucked. He knew when he came in and January was an opportunity to do some actual business and he saw 2 attacking players go out the door. The left back, we always needed it regardless. The left back was it regardless of anybody being there. That left back needed to come in always because we didn't have a left back for 2 years because of Luke Shaw. That left back had to come in anyway. And then the signing of Aiden Heaven, which, by the way, brilliant because the price we paid and how good he is and how good he's been. But we signed a center back that we didn't immediately use. And then we signed a 19-year-old left wing back that we needed him, but he was going to have some adjustment time, and it's going to be difficult. He only played so many games for Lecce in the Serie A. The rest of the team, we needed to do things like you let Rashford and Anthony go out on loan. You didn't get him anybody in. We lost Xerxes, and we were relying on Xerxes. We lost Xerxes, and he was stuck with playing Garnacho every week, and Garnacho then was able to do whatever Garnacho wanted to do because you can't drop Garnacho. He needs Garnacho. And Garnacho could be as selfish as he wants on the pitch. The manager couldn't rotate. We didn't have proper depth. And then ultimately we got to the Europa League final and we lost it. So, not to police thought in the chat, but with transfers, it's best to think that whatever the owners say a squad situation is good enough, think of it as good enough to save money. Well, yeah, I don't think it's police thought. I think you're just adding a point to it. You know what I mean? And I think you're just pointing things out. I think that's part of the conversation. I don't think it's not like you're trying to, shove it down their throat and force them to think like that and not accept if they don't think like that. I think you're just making a valid point. And I think it is a valid point. And unfortunately, this is what I talk about. Unfortunately, we have to, we as our fans, as United, we ultimately have to try and do that to ourselves. We have to try and trick ourselves constantly because the general football fan just wants to think about regular football things. But we are not in a regular football situation. We don't have normal, regular owners. We don't have people that actually give a shit. So unfortunately, there's always this like weird sort of like, ulterior motive conspiracy type of thing that you kind of have to start. You always have to like put it in the back of your head of everything that's going on. But I think you're right. Like, when they say like a couple weeks ago when they told us, yeah, the team's good enough. And my brain, it's, my brain is trained to do that. My brain is automatically to be skeptical. My brain is automatically to not trust these people. My brain is automatically like thinks of like ulterior motives and shit right off the top. And like, so right when they say like the squad is good enough, my brain goes, yeah, because you don't want to spend the money. You're literally telling us bullshit. You're literally lying. You're lying. Like, you're hoping it's good enough. You're hoping you can, get away with it. You're hoping you can, risk it for the biscuit and then, have a full meal. But in actuality, the truth really is that you would just prefer not to spend money. And then you're hoping that later on it pays off because you're hoping that we get Champions League so that you can be vindicated by saying, I told you it was good enough. I told you we were good enough. I told you we didn't need to spend money. We're good. We got Champions League, baby. We're good. Told you. But then if that doesn't happen, then you look to, throw somebody under the bus. Then you look to blame shift. Then you look to, whether you do it on a player or you do it on a manager or whatever it is, then you look to say, well, we should have got fourth place, but release to the media that that player is shit, or some of the training methods the manager was doing was shit. So it's their fault. If it wasn't for them, we would have got Champions League. Not the fact that we didn't buy anybody or spend or anything like that. No. It was because Carrick had the players coming in at 8 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock. And, if you had them coming in at 7 o'clock, we would have got Champions League guaranteed. So, yeah, listen, guys, we're going to get out of here. Tomorrow, we're not going to stream. I don't expect any sort of major news. If there is major news, obviously we will stream then, like if we do some sort of loan signing or something like that, which I don't really expect. We're not going to stream because I don't like to stream during Champions League games. I also want to watch the Champions League games myself, and I'm obviously clearly not doing that as I'm here, talking to you guys. So we're not going to stream tomorrow. I didn't know that there was. I totally forgot that there was Champions League today, and then I felt bad not doing a stream because I was literally not going to do one. I was just going to cancel it and say, listen, we're not gonna do a live. But since I already said that I was going to do it and I promised it, I said, I gotta follow through my word. So. We won't stream tomorrow, and then as far as I could tell you, we'll be back Thursday, unless my schedule will change. But I should be able to be back Thursday. As it stands right now, Thursday, I should be able to stream at 8:15 p.m. UK. So the regular time that we've been streaming at, and we'll go back to like normal settings, and then that'll be closer to the Arsenal game and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, so we won't no stream tomorrow. Maybe I'll drop a video, short video, 10-15 minutes. I gotta see. But if you have the notifications on, you get notified. You get notified of the live streams. You get notified of the videos. So, Renosis is exactly for me. Talking about results and managers while the owners need to go is like discussing who I want to be president when I don't believe voting matters and they don't run the country anyway. Yeah. I've been saying that for a long time, it's been my battle with some of the community members because they've been going ham on the manager, and I'm just like, yeah, but I just feel like it kind of almost doesn't matter at this point. And so I don't know, we'll see. It's, one day at a time. We just, this roller coaster of a ride, this circus that this club is, we just got to take it one day at a time and see where we go and see what happens. So, Marseille versus Liverpool highlight tomorrow. Well, go Marseille, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I think we need the English teams to do well, no? Like, so City losing, I mean, yeah, it's a good laugh, but don't we need the English teams to do... We need the English teams to do well up until a certain point to secure that 5th spot, I guess. But I don't know. Maybe we should just say fuck that and just go for 4th and do our job in the Premier League, because it's the only thing that we can control, really, is win our matches and get 4th. And just say, forget about 5th. Let that be somebody else's problem, and let everybody else, let the other English teams, lose. Renosa says, have a good one, bro. Thanks for creating the community. It's my favorite one, brother. God bless. Well, I'm glad you enjoy it, brother. I'm glad you found the community. I'm glad you're part of it as well. You've been really good, since you joined in here. I've enjoyed having conversations with you. I'm glad you've made it a better place as well. Not that it was bad before, but you've made it better by joining, and we need more people like you and others, but we need more people. If I could have a bunch of people like the ones that we already have, if we could double them, triple them, quadruple them, we'll literally have the greatest community and the greatest United channel on the planet, which would be fucking, amazing. So, yeah, just, it's been a pleasure, brother, and I don't know how you found it. I don't know how, maybe it was chance, maybe it was meant to be, but I'm glad you did. I'm glad you're here, and you've been supporting, real dedicated, and that's what we love. So, big up yourself, my friend, and you take care as well. And Lucky says that's why we got to keep the focus on ownership. We don't trust anything at this stage. Exactly. Glaze is out. I'm keeping my foot on the Merrick. Yeah, we do that. We'll do it as well. I'll do it as well. Everybody's got to do it. But other than that, listen, everybody take care. Have a good night. Enjoy whatever's left of the Champions League matches. Be good. No show tomorrow. Remember, put in your calendar, reminder, notifications, whatever you got to do. Thursday, 8:15 p.m. UK time. Be there. Don't miss it. Get in there early. Hit the like buttons. Thank you to everybody that smashed the like button. If you didn't, hit on the way out. And other than that, take care, be good, and we'll see each other on Thursday, all right?